Hi everyone. As the creepy music I'll probably put on this in post indicates, delighted to be talking on this episode of Words, Images, and Worlds with someone who creates in the universes, almost said worlds again, but that's repetitive, the universes of horror, thriller, supernatural, and suspense, as well as science fiction. On this episode, glad to be talking with comics reader and author Aaron Wroblewski. Aaron,
Thank
thank
you.
you for joining.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you for
yeah.
having me.
My pleasure. Yeah. Thank you for the shirt as well, that you're currently sporting. Love
Yeah,
that. The
I thought
Anendra.
I'd make the effort.
Absolutely. There it
Thank you.
is. Yeah. I was going to mention that title, Anendra, as well as Blood and Fire, Ice and Bone. And let me practice my Latin here. Amor Patris. Did I get that right?
Very good, very good.
Fantastic. We try. We try. So you're someone who folks can find pretty easily out on the internet and places like Kickstarter, and believe you have a website for your work as well. Uh,
Yes.
cool, cool. I'm curious why horror and science fiction? What led you to these creative universes that I love so much?
I kind of really started out pretty much watching films, TV series. I've always loved horror. The the scarier the better. I kind of liked the because Amazon do it now again, where they kind of throw out some like indie horror, like
Uh-huh.
especially Korean stuff. There was a found footage about an asylum. I can't remember the name of it, but it was really good.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I'm kind of always drawn towards horror. Aliens is my favorite film, probably of all time.
nice.
Really looking for the new one. It looks really from the trailer, it looks kick-ass. Hopefully they return to the basics because the prequels were terrible.
Yeah, it seems like
I,
they're returning to that.
I'm hoping it's like it's
Yeah.
they did Prey was awesome for a
Yeah,
Predator. I mean, it kind of
agreed.
revamped it. It was really good. So I'm hoping they do the same for the Alien franchise and get it back on track. It's been a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah, well, and funny you should mention Prey because one of your storylines, Blood and Fire, Ice and Bone, you tackle sort of a samurai approach, and I think that would be perfect. Why not a samurai
Yeah.
approach for a Predator story, personally? And you could write it as well. Just throwing that out
Hey,
there.
I'm game. Just call
Yeah,
me up.
yeah. Agreed on that, and definitely agreed on. There's something about the original Alien movies, and particularly the first two, and this new movie seems to have some of those vibes going on as well.
Yeah.
All of that to say, I think we're in line with their taste as far as genre that way.
Yeah, I definitely think it's I think from the first film was great, but it was more horror based, with
Mhm.
the tunnels. I always remember seeing that for the first time as a kid. I kind of snuck and watched it because my parents were, and it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah,
The second one obviously is more action packed, but it's still, I mean, you can't really get much better than those two as a kind of a sequel after the original. They don't really get many good sequels nowadays.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then I don't know, the third and fourth just kind of went, yeah,
Yeah.
but each to their own, I suppose.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as far as we might be tapping into some of your inspirations here, but curious about other inspirations that you have, and also curious about the creative process because you're someone who works in prose and comics. I'm always curious to hear about how that translates.
Yeah, I kind of started out writing scripts, because that's how I kind of started. Was my friend, I used to go to the cinema with my friends. I would slate it. It's like, oh, I wouldn't do this, I would do this, and then they got sick and tired of me complaining. So if you're like, you can do better, do it. Stop,
Hmm.
shut up, go away. So then I started writing. Did a few feature films, nothing, that took off. But I actually wrote an Enra as a TV series. And I luckily got into an agency, and they were kind of shopping it around. Didn't really get any traction because I'm a Mr. Nobody, but one of the agents actually thought it'd make a kick-ass graphic novel.
Hmm.
And Ezekiel, who's doing the artwork and he does the artwork for Blood and Fire and Ice and Bone, he was on their books too, doing other projects. We kind of meshed together, and we've been together really ever since, like almost probably over 10 years now. Um, So yeah, it kind of fell into it because I didn't really do much with comics until I actually started making my own.
Hmm.
I've always been with like anime, TV, kind of that setting, and writing the scripts. I kind of lead towards writing a script for a TV series rather than a comic,
Hmm.
visualizing what's going to be in the panels. So I'm not sure if that's a hindrance or a help, but that's kind of how I visualize what goes in the panels on each page. Is like kind of almost like writing a TV script.
Yeah, yeah. So sort of a sub question here. I'm curious if there has ever been a time that you've written something on the script page, sent it to the next stage of the process, and then just been surprised, amazed, by the work that's come back, maybe a vision of something that you'd imagined in a completely different way.
What from Ezekiel, you mean?
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, totally. He knocks it out of the park all the time.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
it's you know I I'm the create I create it, I write it, but he takes a little paragraph and like boom makes it real.
Yeah.
Very few because he did the whole of Ice and Bone as one without showing me any uh samples or anything like that. He says I'm going to do it all in one go. I want it's because he wants to do it all so it's impactful, so I can look at the whole thing rather than like one page here, 2 pages there, and back and forth. And it worked. I mean, there was very few changes. Yeah, very few changes throughout the whole process, and that was like 28 pages. And yeah, he don't no one take him from me. He's mine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Well, curious about those moments where you're sort of looking for inspiration, you're sort of looking for the blank page and a way to tackle it. How do we go about cracking those first lines and tackling that fear of the blank page? This truly is becoming a horror themed
Yeah.
episode.
Um, to starting wise, I don't actually start writing until I've had the idea for a good while.
Hmm.
I mean, formulating in my head, and the way I see it is like if I'm still thinking about it 2 or 3 weeks later, then it's got potential.
Yeah.
And then I start thinking about, okay, like I'm doing an actual science fiction horror. I've written the 2 books. I'm actually onto the third one, writing the scripts for. That's a kind of Aliens Event Horizon vein kind of genre.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm hoping to launch that possibly next year because of, uh, money situation. Um, but yeah, the I kind of wait to see if it's molding, if it's still kicking around in my brain. And then I start writing a short treatment, maybe like a page and a half, maybe 2 taps, just a kind of a brief outline, maybe a few characters, nothing major, mainly scenes like I've thought of would be really quick, really cool.
Hmm.
Um, and then I go from the treatment to a more detailed outline. So, depending on the size of the book, maybe like 6 pages outline. And then I go, well, kind of break it down into maybe issues as well. And then I start writing the actual each issue um, as a separate script.
Love it, love it. Yeah, I'm always interested to hear about the process and how that works.
And
Uh,
sometimes drinking helps.
oh, well, sure, sure, yeah. Um, so curious about what comics have allowed you to do, sort of what they've opened up for you in creating.
A lot of indie comics. I've not really been into Marvel and DC. Love DC animated.
Hmm.
The stuff on Max. Great, love it. Um, the films, some are good, some are bad.
Yeah.
Um, but comics wise, yeah, most of my collection is all indie stuff from Kickstarter. So I Drive for Cerber was really good. Can't wait for the second one. Backed that. A lot of kind of there was the Wall it was called. I can't remember who wrote it.
Hmm.
But it seems like it was very European kind of style of you know the uh, artwork and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, I've kind of just kind of concentrated on indie stuff, Kickstarters, all my fellow creators, kind of back them, and I've kind of the only mainstream I'd probably go for is Saga.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That's kick-ass. That really, I really hope someone picks that up to make into a series like they've done Invincible. I've been loving that.
yeah.
If if Amazon can get their act together and buy the rights to that, I think that would be another kick-ass anime. I don't think they'd be able to do that live action. It would be
It would be
very
tough.
difficult. It would
That
be
would be
very
a
difficult.
budget. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm surprised that's got to be in development somewhere. Someone has the rights to that or something
I'm
because it
sure they are.
absolutely
Yeah,
is.
it's
Yeah.
it's insane how big it is. I've not even touched the new stuff coming out yet. Come out, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for that to kind of get a few issues, and then I'll probably binge it at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. Were you talking about The Wall by Mario Alberti? Is that right?
Yes, yes,
Perfect. Perfect.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. I always appreciate fellow creator shout outs as well. It's always a cool thing to hear. Um, so if I'm a listener out there and I'm like, I'm curious about the work, I'm interested in horror meets science fiction and the things that you're doing, any particular through line, byline wouldn't be the right word there, but through line for what I can expect as a reader.
Um, I try and keep each individual storyline separate.
Hmm.
So if you
Hmm.
like post-apocalyptic, and Enna is your man, kind of Walking Dead, no zombies. So it's that kind of, character driven. There is some action in it, especially in the next couple of issues. So I don't want to spoil it, but there is some
Hmm.
cool kick-ass action. So I'm looking forward to what Ezekiel does with that. Blood and Fire and its sequel, Ice and Bone. Supernatural samurai action. So
Hmm.
it's I've kind of tried to keep it as realistic and toned as I can, but obviously being the supernatural elements kind of, it can't be completely grounded that, otherwise the story wouldn't be very good.
Right, right.
Um, and then obviously the Omar Patrice, even I have sometimes trouble pronouncing it. That's very much supernatural horror, exorcisms, but it's got a bit of a twist to it as the story progresses. Um, but everyone's kind of different, especially the new science fiction one I'm writing at the moment.
Hmm.
Pillars of Creation. I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be my next big push. And then I've got another supernatural which I'm keeping in the background about angels and demons. So yeah, everything is very kind of separated.
Love it. Well, that allows you to explore creatively and kind of tackle things new. So I actually like that. I enjoy the connected universes for sure, but I like the separate sort of approaches to different ideas and concepts. And like
Yeah,
Saga, very high concept stuff.
yeah, because the Amor Patris actually connects to an actual novel I'm writing. Um, so
Nice.
I've got a scene right at the end that links to the novel. So I'm currently in editing, so we'll see how that goes with either launching the actual book on Kickstarter eventually, because I'll probably self-publish it. But it's just getting it ready to edit, send out to professionals to get it all formatted and stuff. So
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
certainly it takes a lot longer to write a novel than it does to write a script.
Yeah, that's a completely different thing, and I'm sure as you're imagining in your mind, and you're sort of the one man band behind the project with that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like making it descriptive without being, you know, boring and too descriptive as well. You don't
Yeah.
want to be, leading the reader by the hand through it all. So you kind of have nice to allow them to kind of visualize it themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. When I teach creative writing, I often mention, if you wanted to, you could make 50 pages about getting out of bed. It just depends on what you would really want to describe, but you could potentially do that. James Joyce has probably done that somewhere.
Yeah,
But you do, yeah, there's that idea of the balance of description and what to leave to the
yeah. I
imagination.
mean the Wheel of Time. is one of
Yeah.
my favorite series. But oh my God, it is a long read.
Yeah. Yeah.
He could be like 3 pages just describing one tree.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I love the title. You said Pillars of Creation.
Yes.
Yeah, that has a very epic feel to it as well. So curious to see how that comes together.
Yeah, it's a big one. So I'm not sure if I should like shorten it down. Because I've written 2 books which are 6 and 4 issues each at the moment.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I'm actually starting to do the outline of book 3, which will be the end one. Um, so yeah, that's going to be a big project. But I've got an artist interested in it, so it's going to be a different artist. He did actually one of the uh variants for Blood and Fire issue 2.
Nice.
Caleb, the red one with the flaming sword.
Hmm.
So he's keen to get into that, and I'm keen to start it. It's just funds at the moment is kicking my butt.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. That's the business aspect, but glad to hear that you're finding these collaborations that sound like they're really positive too.
Yeah, yeah, I've been very lucky. Found some great artists, both doing the variant covers and the like Ezekiel Hernan, who's doing the armor Patrice. So yeah, I've been very lucky to find great artists inside the book and on the covers.
Cool, cool. We've talked about what's next. We've talked about what's out. I think the only official question that I have left is where can we learn more?
I am on Facebook, Instagram. So Instagram is Wroblewski Aaron. It's basically reverse. Um, on Facebook, I have Facebook groups for Anenra, Blood and Fire, and Armor Patrice. So you just type that in, and the groups will show up, and then click and join, and then you'll get all the updates and teasers for the series as they go along.
Fantastic. Well, anything that we've missed that you want to make sure to share before we close out?
Don't think so. I think we covered everything, my friend.
Sounds great. Sounds great. We try to be efficient and helpful, so that's wonderful. Glad to have you back anytime as you're working on projects, of course, and looking forward to sharing this.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.